Which high school friend took a path you didn't expect? Girl in my high school was a terrible human being, selfish and totally self-absorbed. I couldn't stand her. One of the shallowest, nastiest people I knew. 20 years later she sacrifices her life trying to help save 3 children, unknown to her, from drowning in a rip current at a local beach. Did the kids make it? Yes, she was the only victim. My best friend since I was 5 years old, smartest person I ever knew. She went off to college and got into heroin. She is now serving a life sentence for first-degree murder. She was the mastermind and the getaway driver of a burglary gone wrong. Her accomplices broke into a guy's home they were acquainted with, tied him up and beat the shit out of him. He died of a heart attack sometime during the ransacking of his home or directly thereafter. Low achiever, used to goof off in class all the time. Bit of a class clown. Used to tell everyone that her goal was to be a trophy wife so she could watch TV all day. Has shown her designs at Paris Fashion Week and has dressed several celebrities. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I was flicking through a copy of Vogue on my lunch break, and there was a 4-page article on her in there. I was so happy. She always had a heart of gold, and I feel like her teen self was a reflection of what her family thought for her. She deserved to be much more than someone's wife. When I was 10, I sat next to the sweetest boy in our class. All the other boys I had sat next to in junior school were mild-ass hats. We went to different high schools when we were 12. I heard that at 16 he had been arrested for armed robbery. I still can't believe it. What the hell happened to that kind and gentle boy between 12 and 16? Had a friend that was the weirdest guy I'd met. He'd often yell random stuff for no reason, do every kind of accent, and was just generally awkward around people. Saw him a few years after, and he was dressed to the nines, very clean cut, and socially well adjusted. Made me rethink all my life's choices up until that point, since I was not doing so hot in life. Not a friend, but I went to middle and high school with a girl who went into acting. Became a Power Ranger. High school meth dealer and local lunchroom pot vendor ended up being roommates senior year. 2 months after graduation they both joined the Las Vegas PD. A friend of mine is a talented artist with a deep passion for video game design. He worked on projects all through high school, and I thought it was certain he would quickly become an artist for some dev studios soon after. He now works as a furniture salesman. I wanted to work on games since high school, and tons of folks were convinced I'd be working in gaming. After hearing the horror stories about the game industry, lack of job security and constant layoffs, I'm happy as a retail stock person while I try to just do game dev on the side. I've also come to the realization that I'm the kind of person that if I turn a hobby into a job, it'll kill my passion for it. There was this guy who bullied me and destroyed my self-esteem on a regular basis. He became a really successful vegan chef, has his own restaurant, cookbooks, has been on talk shows to cook his stuff. Probably the smartest guy in class, but never actually paid attention or did his homework. Was always sleeping in class or doing his own thing or goofing off. Recently sold his startup for 8 figures and is now back to goofing off. A lot of them. I don't know if there was something in the water in our town. A lovely girl in my class had severe anorexia, to the extent she had to repeat the year. She was strikingly pretty, with the face of an angel. Always wondered if she felt self-conscious and grew obsessed about her looks because it was what people valued. Nobody made the same fuss about her good grades or niceness. She is now morbidly obese, couch surfing, and pretty much always wears the same big brown coat and tracksuit pants. Was shocked to see her go from one extreme to the other. Still really nice. Hope it works out for her. Another high achiever in our class is now a traveling musician and nudist. She dropped out of engineering and just travels from festival to festival as a concert goer, dressed as a barefoot rainbow fairy. Self-funds by offering tarot readings, spells. Lived by the creek for a while. Has a Pomeranian. There were 2 that really stand out. One of them was a girl who got in a fair amount of trouble. She skipped school, had a bad attitude, and was more interested in hanging out with friends than learning. She ended up becoming a lawyer, and eventually became the assistant DA of a city with about 3 million people. The other was a nice guy, got along with most everyone. I even considered him a friend and hung out with him on occasion. He came from a great family, and while he didn't get the best grades, He was good at things like fixing cars, so I assumed he would end up going into that field. Instead, he started a career in drinking. By the time he was 30, he had been in jail several times, in a rehab a couple of times, had been arrested numerous times, had 2 restraining orders on him from former girlfriends. Now in his mid-40s, he still lives in that same town. He looks like he is in his 60s, is on disability, and likely doesn't have much of a future as he continues to drink himself away. The happy surprise? One of the girls I went to school with kind of came from the wrong side of the tracks. Nice kid, but her family was known to be pretty trashy, and she dropped out of community college to be a stripper. A few years later, she got her shit together, and now she's a corporate lawyer. The not-so-happy surprise? Dude was brilliant. He came from a wealthy family, he was good at sports, he was a hilarious person to be around. Even at the time, it was no secret that he had his demons, but he was just so damn smart that it seemed like if he could grow out of his adolescent angst, everything would be fine. I believe he's working part-time at the grocery store now, but he may have gotten fired again. Or he might be back on disability. Or maybe he's working at Pizza Hut. It's always hard to keep it straight, because he doesn't tend to hold down any particular job for long. Honestly, if he weren't such a nice person, there might be a hint of schadenfreude there. But as it is, it's just tragic. He really was brilliant, and he really was a wonderful human being, but there weren't enough advantages in the world to save him from himself. He had every card but one stacked in his favor, and that one card was enough to undo everything else. He was 2 years younger than me, absolutely brilliant, and went to Stanford after high school. Died in his sleep from a heart attack at age 20 while visiting family in China. He had an undiagnosed heart defect. So yeah, that was pretty unexpected. R.I.P. Kevin. A really nice and shy guy who liked Queen and played guitar a bit. Became a bass guitarist in #1 rock band in Ukraine. The most brilliant girl I knew, second in our graduating high school, was also one of the most lively and outgoing people I knew. She could befriend anyone. She was so fun and energetic and thoroughly enjoyed living life. I thought she was destined for so much success. She ended up passing away last year, just a couple months shy of her 24th birthday after a lengthy, private battle with cancer. When I found out about her illness, it was already terminal, and when she passed away, all I could think was how unfair it was that someone with so much potential, someone who did everything right in life, could die like that. Her death really got to me, and as the 1-year anniversary is approaching, I constantly remind myself to make the most of every second of my life, because hers was cut so short. Very plain-looking, nice but quiet girl I went to high school with. Never would have thought she would go on to become one of the top 20 supermodels of all time. Married a very famous rock star. She's a sweetheart. One of my dearest friends, and checked in on me almost daily for close to a year, when I lost my daughter. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.